Mm. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I was thinking as well. Yeah, because the was well yeah. Mhm, mhm, mhm. Well, I've spoken. No, it's correct.
I butchered that, guys. We're going to put the right intro in now. That's not movie news, it's reviews. There you go, reviews. See that little glowy thing there? Fantastic. Oh, and then it's starting again, Stephen. This is a mare, man. It is a mare, man. There you go, Stephen. You're in.
Hello and welcome
Shambles.
to another movie review from MBE. We'd just like to thank you once again for joining us here on our YouTube channel and of course our Twitch stream. I'm one of your co-presenters, Stephen John McLaughlin. Their co-presenter, John
Jonathan
Christopher
C.S.
Walsh
Oh.
is here again, and our very special guest and good friend Ruth Aaron joins us once again to give her expert analysis on the movie we're about to talk about, and that is Sarpatta Parambarai from 2021. This is available and has been available since 2 weeks ago on Prime Video, and this was directed by P. Ranjith and stars Arya and a whole host of stars, which we will get into. And this running time for this movie is just under 3 hours. I watched this in one sitting and thoroughly enjoyed it, but we'll get into the meat and bones of it once we pass it over to John, who's going to take us through this movie review experience.
We'll get through the boring bit first. Rating system, if you're new here. F equals terrible. It's a terrible movie. Self-explanatory stuff. The Fanatic, yada yada. D equals an average movie, -3 plus, varying degrees of averageness. Some good movies in here, they just don't do enough to be good. I'm going to move this graphic over incidentally because I'm semi-exposed.
Yep.
It's a shambles, this OBS. A shambles. Stephen's dying of heat exhaustion here. We've got C, -3 plus. That's a good movie. A lot of MCU movies will slide into there, the likes of Ant-Man and the Wasp, Ant-Man in general. And I love those movies, but they're just not excellent. Excellent is -3. B, -3 plus, I should say. Got to state the letter first. That's an excellent movie. That's some of the best movies ever put to cinema, if you'd like. My favourite movie of all time goes in there. Cool Hand Luke. I urge you to watch that with the great Paul Newman. And then you've got A, which is perfection. That's reserved for perfection. There has to be an element within it that's caught your eye, that's so good that it's perfect. Or the actual whole movie itself is utter perfection. Only the very best movies go in there. So that's how we review. That's how we rate, I should say, our movies. And you'll also have some form of knowledge now when you get to the end and see where we've actually slipped this movie in terms of rating. Reviews though, let's bring up the actual guideline so I can just go on the actual gabbling nonsense I normally go on at the start of these reviews, the usual crap. Intro to this review equals a breakdown of grading setup. I've fucking done that, so we'll move on. The story. Where did you first learn about this movie? I'll pass this to Ruth first, then I'll let you in, Steve, and I'll give my brief little thoughts before I throw Ruth under the bus. I first discovered this movie through requests to react to a trailer. I didn't know it existed until very late into the process. I think it was about 2 weeks ago we reacted to the very first trailer. I was caught by it. I was caught by Arya and his magnificent moustache and physique. The fact it was a boxing movie and just that sense that there was something under the surface that was intriguing, a drama-driven story. And then we reacted to the training montages. I think, Ruth, it was yourself that actually forwarded that. Lots of elements going on here, songs from it. So that was my very first interaction with this movie. I was intrigued by it. I didn't have enough knowledge though on the likes of Arya. And I think it's John, what's his name? I'm going to bring his name up, we were just speaking about him. John Coken. So Ruth, also you being a lot more knowledgeable in Indian cinema, I presume you knew a little bit more about Arya than perhaps me and Stephen did. And maybe some of these actors as well. So was your experience going into this movie slightly different to me and perhaps Stephen's, in the sense that you had a slight sense of what you were going to get here? Because I had no sense. I just knew it was a boxing movie and it had some very buff looking actors. What was your experience going into this movie before we actually touch on the story and the actual experience of watching it in general? If you've got anything to say, Ruth, that is, bring us up. There we go.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it was actually quite surprising that what I thought it would be, the experience was very different from actually what the experience was. Because, like you say, I've known Arya from the start. I've watched a lot of his movies, from when he started acting to now. And with Arya, it's always been a bit of a difficulty for me to really get into his acting because of the fact that it's always a mixed bag. Sometimes the movies are terrible, and then sometimes it's phenomenal. It's like, I actually like his acting. It's like he always surprises me when I think I'm going to watch another, kind of a whitewash, very very simple, casual kind of film, and then suddenly he will amaze me with his performance. But this movie, I was really very, very surprised that he could go to that length, and I thought he did a fantastic job in this movie, and I was very, I would say, extremely surprised. And I'm actually glad that you guys wanted to review this movie, because had I not known that we were going to review it, I probably would have not watched it, or at least put it on the back burner, and it would have been such a waste not to watch this movie, because within 5 minutes of watching it, I was drawn in the whole thing until then. Yeah.
Stephen, what was your thoughts going into this movie? Did you have any expectations? What was your mindset going into this movie before we touch upon that?
Probably similar to yourself, John, because as you know, we react to trailers all the time, and we did 3 different reactions from obviously the music video and the behind the scenes one and the actual trailer itself. So my experience was similar to yours in getting into this, John. Very intrigued. We talked about it earlier in the week about what we love boxing movies anyway, but the other thing that really intrigued me as well was the last sporting Indian movie we watched was Dangal, which we both enjoyed very much. It's one of our favourite films so far, and that was the other reason I wanted to see if the genre would hold up in this as well. And I didn't know anything about Arya, didn't know anything about him at all. I knew some of the other familiar faces that I couldn't pinpoint. I knew them by looks, and I thought, John Coken, one of them is KGF, and I think Bahubali, I think it said, and Pasipathy as well, who was in the Arjuran. A character as well. Just familiar faces. I think he was.
Of the Darush in that movie. Because I remember him. Yeah. So he's got a familiar face, and he's ever present in this movie as well, which we'll get into. But that was my first impressions. It was a boxing movie. I was very surprised that it wasn't just a boxing movie. It had a lot of drama in it and realism
very much in the vein of the first Rocky movie, which
Yeah.
I thought was probably the best one for its drama, its emotion.
I was gonna
wasn't
get
just
to that,
wasn't just about you were watching this man, rise to the top and then all the way back down again, and then having to reclaim the title. But it was great, it was a really enjoyable film, and for 2 hours and 53 minutes I felt that it just flew in. It did.
And Stephen, that'll take us into story nicely. The writing, the character development, the way it ebbed and flowed, themes explored, and the ending. I thought this movie was perfectly constructed, the actual story. It really done a great job of introducing this clan, Sarpatta clan. Via that early fighting contest, you see the likes of Vetri, of Raman, and some of the other faces. The guy gets his arse handed to him on a plate by Vembuli, the big heavy built guy. And you're introduced to that concept of this rivalry between the Sarpatta clan. I don't actually know the other clan's name. It begins with an I. But you introduce Idiapa. It introduces the Idiapa and Sarpatta rivalry beautifully. It introduces the main players and the concept of the honesty, the integrity of this fighting of these two families, and the dishonesty of the Idiapa clan, because they're callous, sneaky snakes in that clan. And then the way that it just subtly introduces the I'm going to bring him up again. Cabalan, is it? I always forget this guy's name, the actual character name. Cabalan, it is Cabalan, isn't it? I can't get it because it's just showing Arya. So we'll just call him Arya for the moment until I get to my notes. The way it introduces him tells a story about the mother, how she's impacted him. He's hiding under the ring. It's just perfectly crafted, the story, I thought. It really does bond you to this guy. He's kind of shy. He's hiding in the shadows at the start. And the transformation of this guy, the journey he goes through, the development of that character, the development of side characters in this, they're just perfectly developed for me. And it's the Vetri character probably is the primary side character. He gets developed beautifully. So for me, they develop the characters really well in this. The director, he's only done 7 movies, incidentally, 8 movies. And I like the look of the Madras movie that he made. I've just had a little look at that. Some familiar faces in there, Carthy and stuff like that. So that's one I may have to be watching again. Really impressed with this director, the way he wrote. Obviously, he may have not been involved in the script, but the way he developed and got performances, I thought was impressive. What was your thoughts, Ruth, on the story? What did you make about the way it ebbed and flowed? For me, it was brilliant. It flew by. I watched it in 2 sittings, an hour and a bit, the first sitting and the rest in the second sitting. I was drawn to the action, drawn to this man's story, this rivalry, where he was going to go. I found it absolutely transfixing. What was your thoughts on the actual story, man? Did you think it was well written, the way it was edited, the way it ebbed and flowed? What was your thoughts on the way characters developed on the screen? And maybe the ending, we'll get into the ending as well, I'm sure, in due course. But what was your thoughts on it, Ruth?
Yeah, I thought the story was solid. It was very well edited because there was no wasted segments or wasted scenes. I thought that everything was nicely packaged together very well. It made sense, the story, the way it flowed. It had enough of development for each character for you to get a bit of a sense of every character. It was a very well defined, like all the characters were very well defined, I think.
Yeah.
And
you had the motivations.
and from what exactly, yeah, the motivations are very clear. Like who does what is their role, what is their purpose. Everything was very clearly articulated, I thought, with not only with the characterization, but also with the way the actors brought the character to life on screen. I think they managed to get, from paper to actual acting, they brought it in, I think, really well. Because they were very well written characters, I thought, and each one like stood out. There was, usually in an ensemble cast, it's very difficult to give equal opportunity for every character to be so well developed. But whereas this one, you didn't feel that there was a wasted character. You always had a reason for somebody, for each role, there was a reason and a purpose for them being there.
There's about 7 actors.
It was really well.
At least 7 characters having real sway.
And that's not easy to do. Yeah. It's not easy to do and what I heard is that the director had a very distinctive feel to, like, when he got the actors to act in the role, he specifically told them what who they were playing and what the character's motivation was.
Yeah.
I think very clearly he had an idea, and he made it very clear to them from the start, so they knew exactly what to expect.
And that always
And
gets
therefore
performances.
they could actually perform better because they knew the look he wanted. They
Yeah.
knew how he wanted the character to be portrayed.
And also,
So I
if
thought that was
you're a big Harry Potter fan, much like myself, so you'll be well aware of Alan Rickman's performance as Severus Snape. And it was kind of similar. It wasn't probably the director, but the actual writer, J.K. Rowling, gave him lots of information on how to portray that character. She had a very vivid image of what that character should look like, what it should be, and she gave him one little word, and I think it was always, which typified his relationship with Harry Potter, his mother and stuff like that. That's kind of similar. That was conjuring up in my mind there. And when you give actors a specific piece of information or just a picture on how to portray the character, it usually always ends well, because they like to have the gaps filled in. They can do what they want within that parameter, but that usually works well. And I certainly got that from this movie, especially the Cabalan. I'm going to keep checking this because look, I'm concerned I'm getting it wrong. It was Cabalan, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Cabalan, it was Cabalan. The Cabalan character, I just thought he was a brilliantly written character. The way he flowed across the screen, he goes through such a journey in this. He's on an absolute high. He starts off middling. He's at an absolute high. He hits a low of the low. He's crying at his mother's feet, begging for mercy, and then he rises to the top again. Stephen, what was your thoughts though on this story? The way it was written. Have you got any specific stuff to say, perhaps about character development? The way it ebbed and flowed on the screen. Was there any themes explored? For me, I don't want to put words in your mouth, Stephen, but for me, it was all about, I don't know, championing a sort of a lesser individual. This guy he was invisible. People were saying to him at the start, "Who are you? Why are you here?" Making this guy a champion, in a sense saying that everybody can rise to the top and has a chance to be successful in life. And then the whole alcoholic stuff, showing the pitfalls of alcoholism. I know that well in my family. Let me tell you. What was your thoughts though, Stephen, on the story, the way it ebbed, flowed, themes?
Flowing, I don't want to say I had a real issue with it, because for a film that's almost 3 hours long, I felt the director handled it as best he could in terms of the cast ensemble. It's very hard to give everyone their time on a film. Personally, my preference would have been the Caliban character being the main focus. Give him as much, make it a bit more straight to the point with that character and his journey. But that's not to say that I wasn't interested in the likes of Vetri and Raman. I liked those characters. I liked them that much. I think they should have their own films. I think this should have been probably constructed more into a sort of an anthology between those three fighters.
That would be good.
I don't think there's many directors out there that have done that. Clint Eastwood did it with the World War II movie where he did the two perspectives. I would have liked to have seen the perspectives done in different films from Raman and from Vetri as well.
One other movie that I felt that was the case. 1907. 1917. 1917. Sam Mendes.
Yeah.
So many enthralling little side characters that could have had their own story. Stephen, you're saying that I never thought about that watching this. But there is some interesting side characters.
The only reason I'm saying that is because I liked them that much. It's not. I'm not having a dig at the director or the writing here. I think they did the best to do what they had to do with such a large character cast, and for the running time as well. You don't want to be sitting and watching a 5-hour movie to deal with everyone's aches and pains. But I felt that that was probably doing those two particular characters possibly a little disservice in terms of their screen time. I did think they got to the point, but I felt at times it might have been a little bit rushed just to get their arc sewn up. And I felt that maybe in the last half hour as well, everything was just getting crammed in and a bit convoluted at times. I really wanted them, that fight you talked about, John, the one where they threw the chair in to stop the fight. I hated that guy. I don't know who he was. I can't find him. I really wanted to punch his head in.
The guy get his face cut.
Yeah.
And he pops up at the end and tries to be a barrier to Cabalan getting to the last fight. I'm like,
what is your problem? I
hated that guy, man. I think there was bad blood between him and his father.
I hated him more than I hated the Vimbuli character. I didn't really mind him. He was a typical
good boxer.
good boxer, but the
Successful,
villain, you know,
sort of embroiled in
Yeah.
clan stuff going on with warring families.
another
and figures.
character that I would
Yeah.
have liked to have seen more of was Dancing Rose. I thought he was fantastic in
That
this movie.
character took me by surprise.
Yeah,
Steve,
it was just so-
standout moments here,
it was
man.
just
We'll get
so-
into standout moments and standout
Yeah,
elements and
the characters as well, John.
Dancing
But
Rose was
I just
absolutely incredible.
the point I'm trying to make is they've got so many good characters in here. I felt the story at times, it just felt like they were pigeon-toed into their little
Yeah.
moments, if you like. There was moments rather than full arcs for these
But I'd
characters.
turn that a positive, Stephen.
Yeah.
I'd say that's good.
Well, it was handled well. That's, you know, don't get me wrong. It's nitpicking. It's, you know, it's just something that I would have liked to have seen. I'd have liked to have seen, you know, three movies.
Actually, yeah, it is actually strange that you're bringing that up, because I think that was what the director wanted to happen, because people did ask, I think, like, why didn't Arya get like more screen time, or why wasn't Kabilan, you know, the main focus of the story? But I think the reason being that is that the director actually wanted to show the clan
Yeah.
what it was during that period of time, for the boxers in that period of time in the 70s. He wanted to be able to show more about the clans and how they functioned. So I think the focus was always meant to be
On
not
the
just
politics.
individual boxers, but it's the underlying story, of course.
Yeah.
But that the main focus was always meant to be how these clans interacted
Yeah.
with each other and what was the lifestyle.
I-
I think that was
Yeah.
the focus,
Yeah.
and the people
Yeah.
did bring it up, and it was interesting that
Yeah.
you
I think
you
it's-
also touched on that.
Yeah, I think it's just because I liked the character so much, you know, and I just wanted to see more of him. You know, I get that the main focus was the clan and
Well,
it's sort of diminishing, you know, in front of our eyes, you know, just their sort of legacies getting stripped as we watch it, you know, with each boxer getting beat. But I just felt the sort of journey from, you know, John touched on it, Kabilan's sort of shyness, fear of his mother. I thought it was hilarious. Such a big guy and he's scared of his mum, but that's
he's
typical.
big from the right
Yeah.
from the get-go.
And I think, you know, it's just it's a preference more than anything. But, you know, overall, I just felt the story was handled the best way it possibly could be with all those characters. You know,
Yeah.
it's just a shame, because I did think that Vetri and Rahman had. They had like films within their own characters, if you like. You know, there was enough there to really, you know, for them to have their own films.
No,
you
you are
know?
absolutely right. Yeah, because the characters are so lovable in the sense that you just, you know, I mean, and you were absolutely right about the fact that Wembuli, he's just a boxer. He was never intended. He's neither good nor bad. You
Yeah.
know, he may have had
Just
a
good at
momentary lapse when he thought he was going to lose. His motivation is that he always wants to win.
Yeah.
And you know, and he faltered in that for a moment there. But other than that, he was never meant to be a villainous character.
Yeah.
And I think you know that was portrayed really well. And
Yeah.
and the guy who played the villain, I think, I'm not sure his character, was it
It's
Kanika
annoying.
in the one?
It's annoying that I can't remember. He's not
Yeah,
actually
he
got
was-
an
Yeah,
image
yeah.
on IMDb, but he was a great villain, man.
Yeah.
Because he really riled me
Yeah,
watching it.
he's
He got under my skin, so
so
that's
good, yeah.
and I presume that's not what the guy's like in
Like,
real life.
absolutely, I really wanted to strangle him so many times in between, which tells you that he did such a fantastic
Yeah,
job.
that's
I
you
was
know.
like, you know, give me the knife, I'll stab him myself.
See the moment that Kabilan actually takes the machete and hits him, I was fucking screaming with joy. I'm like, yes! Because he's sitting eating his meal and he's just nipping away. What, you want me to strip you naked as well?
Yeah.
And the way he turns around, just hear you bang. I'm like, yes! Yeah, it was worth that 6 months in jail or whatever he was in jail for. Because he was a weed. A little
Yeah.
weed. That's the terminology we call over here, a little weed. Anybody that's below 5'8" gets called a little weed. A poisoner to water, if you like. But what you were saying there about the actual, not maybe expanding out the Kabilan character as much as they could in the story, and it kind of going off and exploring the politics of these clans and the way they interact, that was actually a positive for me. I quite liked that looking at the borderline gangster criminality that's going on in there, the peddling the alcohol, the stuff that's going on, beating people to shit and stuff like that, slapping people about. I quite liked that. And I liked the Vetri character. He was kind of pushing it. Him and Kabilan, this collaboration between them. Whilst the coach, I think it was Rangan, when he was actually in jail, he took Cabalan off the beaten track and maybe made him a criminal like his father before him. I liked that element of exploring the internal politics, the conflict between these two sort of warring clans, if you'd like. I didn't know the clan thing was a thing. Period. I didn't know that was actually a thing. Also, that's the 1970s. It's almost like a gang in probably Scotland. Terms over here, there's lots of gangs in the 70s, razor gangs and stuff like that. I wanted to ask you, Ruth, because you can speak the language, we can't, we've not got a clue. What does Parambarai mean? Because obviously Sarpatta is the clan name. What does Parambarai mean?
Parambarai means technically the direct translation will be tradition.
Oh, right, yeah.
That's what Parambarai means.
So it's like
it means tradition. But in this sense, the way it's used, it's like a traditional type of boxing that each clan. So they refer to them as a clan. It takes on the meaning of a clan, even though the direct translation of the word Parambarai means tradition actually.
So it's
and Sarpatta means it's talking about 4 like they call them pata knives, like local kind of like those knives that they use to kind of hack things or whatever. So Sarpatta means 4 knives together.
That's interesting.
And the other clan Idiapa means thunder. So it's like they hit like thunder kind of thing.
Thunder.
So Idi means thunder. So it's like Idiapa clan is like, it's talking about how they
hit like thunder, and they're like knives to flesh in a sense.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's brilliant. I like to hear that, I like that insight, because I would never have known that. And again, that just emphasises that it is, even though it is superficially a boxing movie, under the surface there's more going on. It's a sort of a movie exploring this clan and why they exist and what's going on under the surface. They're fighting for their pride on top of things, but underneath there's actual conflicts and they're trying to take each other out and criminality and stuff like that. I love that. As someone that loves a good sort of gangster crime movie, I liked the fact there was that element underneath. There was this drama, because again, we don't really get that. You could argue the first Rocky movie, maybe Raging Bull, to be fair, I'm talking crap. There is some boxing movies with drama over here as well, but just exploring kind of borderline drama crime in a sports movie, I thought that was really interesting and enjoyed that a lot. So for me, that was actually a standout. There's lots of standout moments in this movie. You get the atypical sort of, that's not even the correct word, typical. Atypical means it isn't typical. Typical training montages. You get 2 in this movie. You get his first sort of training montage, but for me the second one near the end of the movie when he's fighting to get the weight off, I thought that was brilliant, that training montage. Going to that old guy who's kind of fishing off the coast. He shows him old school techniques, the digging into the sand, he's pulling the boats out, he's sort of shadow boxing in the water, and him just losing all that weight. I thought that was absolutely class, the journey he'd went on. And obviously you get that in every sports movie, that epic training montage. In Rocky 4 it was, I think, Sylvester Stallone doing his finger push-ups and his pull-ups and was that the one with Ivan Drago?
Yeah.
In the snow. You always get that element in these movies. Creed's got it as well with Michael B. Jordan. And
I've only got one gripe with the sort of last 20 minutes of the movie, where you had the publicity photo they do, the boxers, when they still had the belly.
Yeah.
And there was only 20 minutes left of the movie, and I thought, he's not going to fight with that belly, surely.
No.
And,
Stephen, I was concerned.
And 15 minutes later, he's got the 6-pack back. I'm like, bit rushed, but okay. You don't know the time span, obviously, between the photo shoot and obviously the match. So
he had a belly in the trailer, Stephen, but he was fighting Rahman. He was sparring against Rahman. He crushes him. Yeah. And that's when he gets to his lowest moment.
Yep.
Ruth, I don't know if you had any standout moments, because see that moment I was just sort of addressing there, where he gets beaten up by Rahman, a guy he just physically assaults at the start of the movie. And where that takes him to, and he's crying on the ground, he's seeking mercy from his mother, who's completely estranged him because of his behaviour, his alcoholism. I thought that was probably the standout moment in the whole movie, because of where the Cabalan character is. He's at his absolute lowest ebb, and he's just wanting to get back to his mother. He's basically saying to her at one point, "Can I crawl back up into your room?" That was a little bit disturbing, I'm not going to lie, but I understand the meaning of it. He wants safety in a sense. Yeah. But for me, that was the best moment in the movie, because it just allowed him to exercise great acting, showcase his acting ability.
I also like this. I also like the scene that leads up to it, where he wakes up. like the defining moment where he
The nightmare.
where he decides, okay, that's the point of no return, and he's hit that point already, and he wants to come back. Is where the moment where his child almost dies as a result of his drunkenness, and he's brought back to when his father was killed, and the exact situation where the father couldn't defend himself.
Yeah, the young boy.
I thought he was having a nightmare. That's class.
Yeah, he was having a nightmare. Recalling the point where his father was killed right in front of him, because the father was drunk as well.
Yeah.
And that man, the same villain, was behind the father's murder as well, because he was so jealous of the father's progress that he wanted to take him out of it, and that kind of thing. So and just that reminder of what his childhood was, and then to think that he came that close to creating that same childhood for his child, I think that's what snapped him out of it. And it's like, okay, no,
moment.
Yep.
That was a great moment, man.
So I thought that was a great moment.
And I didn't even realise that was him and his father. I thought it was just a nightmare of him envisaging him maybe having the moment with his kid, and he's like, no, I don't want to go down that route. The fact that it was actually him and his father, he witnessed his father being murdered. You can understand why his mother the way she is, ultimately. And just again exploring that alcoholism, that's something that goes hand in hand with boxing. A lot of famous boxers, there was a famous story I actually did in school back in the day, and it was a Scottish Glaswegian born boxer, I can't remember his name, but he actually felt with alcoholism. So it's something that's actually in real life is quite a big problem.
See the flashback moment with the father, Ruth. It was in IMDb, it says it was a cameo by Kishore Kumar G. Is he a well-known actor in India?
Yeah, he is. I mean, he's done. Not like way up there, in terms of some of the other actors, but he's been very quietly doing some really good roles. I think he's done a lot of different kinds of roles. I mean, he's played villains. He's played, straight character and all that, but he's usually smaller parts.
But he's got a familiar face,
been in, exactly. Yeah. But whatever he has done so far, I think he's done it really well. So he's one of those actors that sometimes gets missed, when you're focusing so much on. Yeah.
Always gets missed despite great performances. Wait, man, I've got an array of.
See, that's the other thing I liked about the fact that this one, the ensemble characters were. The fact that it gave some like screen time to other smaller actors that may not be like in your mainstream, but then it gave them a chance to really show their prowess in terms of the acting skills. I think was very well balanced amongst all the fighters and everything.
That's one thing I'll say as well about this movie that I actually think is a real positive. No one ever really outshines another person. I think it's a really well balanced, as you did say, Ruth, ensemble cast, and they all play their part really well. And I think it goes back to what you says about the director, giving them clear information and visions on what the characters are and what he wants them to be. They were in there armed, and no one ever really. I mean, you could argue Arya's brilliant. Don't get me wrong. There's some great performances, but no one ever. You're always looking around at performances, even in within scenes. It'll cut to Vetri. He's looking on jealously. Exactly, yeah. Kabalan's fighting Raman, stuff like that. You've got Ranjan sort of sitting in the seat, telling everyone this is what's happening. He's fighting Vimbuli. There's lots of characters always on the screen. There's lots of intelligent cuts, so you feel connected to everybody. You're not really, as you said, Stephen, focusing on Kabalan.
John, that's why it's going to be hard when you ask a question, standout performances.
Well, it is going to be hard for you.
Yeah, exactly. Everybody, you're absolutely right in the sense that he gave them when the clear direction, referring to the clear direction that the director gave. Apparently, he even went down to like what kind of fighter he wanted them to like. Okay, with some he said, okay, we want you to be like Muhammad Ali, or with like the Dancing Rose guy, I think he was supposed to portray like Prince Naseem.
I could remember that guy.
It's the way, the footwork and the movement, and so they had a clear vision in their head of which fighter they were meant to be. And so it was easier for them to not lose focus on what they were meant to portray. So I think, and
again, man, when he actually does portray the fighting in this, I thought the fighting, there's quite a few fights. You've got a couple of sparring ones. Rahman, sort of Cabalan taking him on for the right to fight Vembuli and obviously represent the clan. You've got the whole boxing contest at the start that does a great job of introducing everybody and sort of Cabalan as a character, what he went through with his mother. But the fighting in this is brilliant, and you really do get a sense of different styles, different weights. And I thought that just the way he handled the fighting sequences, the way they were shot, just really intelligent. It had a semi-mix of realism and the sort of Rocky over-the-top punching. And I thought he get the balance just right. And just the standout moments for me, just the fighting in this, the boxing, I thought it was brilliant. The first match where he beats the living shit out of Vembuli. He gets in Vembuli's head, the little slap to the back of the head in the weigh-in. And he's like, I've got you, bitch. I'm going to murder you, pretty much. And he does. He absolutely destroys him by the 4th round. It takes that little shithead villain character, little long-haired beardy guy, to start causing a riot in a sense. I found that interesting as well. That was another little thing I found interesting, incidentally. The sort of dissolving of Parliament or something, or of the political regime during the fight, and what that caused. Obviously, Ranjan getting into jail, and that just caused the absolute downfall of Cabalan. He went off the rails as soon as his coach went into jail, so that was an important moment as well, that fight. He's almost on top. He's the best he's ever been. He's wiping the floor with Vembuli, but it's almost like a flip of a switch and he goes off a cliff right after it, because everything starts crumbling. The political system, his coach disappears, his life goes to shit, and that's right near pretty much in the middle of the movie. Because I was intrigued, man. But like an hour and 20 in, I'm like, he's finally fighting this guy. That's just too soon. What's going on? He beats him readily, and then the riot happens. I'm like, what's going to go on now? What's happening for the next hour or so of this movie? But it takes you on a brilliant journey. It explores the clan, as you did say, Sarpatta clan, all the politics, the violence, the alcoholism. It just really does grow strength to strength, getting into the last sort of hour and a half, 2 hours of this movie. But the fighting for me, Steve, what was your thoughts on the fighting, man?
I thought
You've
the
watched a hell of a
choreography,
lot of boxing movies like me.
John, it's that way where it's a double-edged sword when you're doing a boxing movie, because, as we know, real boxing's not as entertaining as film boxing. It can't be. It would be stopped after one cinematic punch. And I love that. You've just got to abandon realism at times and just appreciate what's in front of you in terms of drama and the great choreography. And I felt they handled it very well for all the different fighting styles as well of these boxers, because they were all different weights. I thought the one what was his? I've just
Rahman.
Rahman was
so skinny.
It was such a lighter weight to the likes of
Steve, see the
Cabalan, you know.
That Cabalan dishes to Vembuli in the first fight. I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
The way he cracks his head back, I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
That guy's just felt that. And he'd got in his head, man. I don't know what happened to Vembuli. I'm like, even watching it, I'm like, what is wrong with this guy? He's lost the plot. He was unstoppable. He's off it. His coach is shouting to him, hit him back. He's getting destroyed. I don't know what happened to him. I think he'd got in his head and he realised this guy's just going to beat the shit out of me. And the actual moment he knocks out Dancing Rose as well, that whole fight sequence was brilliant for me. The way he's dancing, he's sitting in the actual corner and he just cracks him with like 10 seconds to go, and that's him, he's out sleeping. But I tell you what, the Rose guy, he was the only guy in that whole other clan that had any semblance of morals. He actually took the defeat in good sport. The rest of them were all bad losers, man. Even Vembuli, I didn't lose. I had to come back at the end of the fight and beat you. Get fucking cracked. What are you talking about? You get destroyed, mate. If it hadn't been a riot, you'd have been killed in the ring. Just the way they handled the fight, I thought was really, really good. And we even get a dance number in here, Ruth, as well, man. I thought that was interesting. I wasn't expecting it. We do get a dance number, don't we?
Yeah, one,
It's when he gets married. I think he wins the fight. I think he beats Rahman.
When he wins the fight, and yeah.
And obviously he's the champion of the town now. They all love this guy. This guy was invisible before. Now he's the heart and centre of the town. They're celebrating him. Then he gets married right after it. And we get a continuation of the song. I thought the song was absolutely brilliant. Really enjoyed the dancing. I don't think Arya was getting involved in too much dancing, to be fair. But there was some good dancing, and the drumming and stuff like that was brilliant in the song. If you get any other standout moments though, Ruth, if you get anything that maybe stood out to you, maybe a moment, it could be any moment.
Yeah, a bit of trivia in the sense that apparently when they came onto set to shoot the film, the director actually wanted them to actually punch each other and fight. So literally they were, because initially I think when they told Vembuli to like kind of like punch Arya in the scene, and the actor John Cocan was saying that he was thinking maybe the director is joking, or maybe he just like lightly tapped. He said no, and
Punch
apparently the
of course.
director got really upset with him and wanted him to really like fight. So by the time they actually shot the thing and all that, they were literally piecing together, even though they were filming, they were piecing together like a real actual fight, and they were actually punching
got
each
that
other out.
sense.
I think that added to
Yeah.
the realism of the whole thing. They were actually fighting each other.
I noticed that they weren't pulling out. I'm like, they're actually
Exactly.
connecting. I thought that watching it. I'm like, there's no
Exactly.
way that's fake punching.
And also, yeah, and also apparently when they had like some sort of workshop or something like that when they started the film, where they started like the director wanted them to learn how to even curse properly. Like they had to learn the proper way of cursing and all during the period of time, how to pronounce the words, and make sure that they got really into that whole lingo, that fight lingo, and everything. So it was literally, and even the audience, the people that were in the audience, right, initially they had to be told to or like cheer, or shout or whatever, and then as the filming continued, apparently because it seemed like a real fight,
Yeah, they were getting
everybody
in,
doing it, people were naturally cheering and really going on, and that's what was
Brilliant.
actually shot, and I think that's what made it so
That is good.
interesting and so
amazing.
realistic. Yeah.
See, it's that level of detail that makes a movie.
Yeah.
It's those little details that make it.
Exactly,
It's
yeah.
when you've got a director
That kind
that's
of
involved.
details, yeah.
That makes the whole
Because
movie.
I think what he wanted was he didn't want just the props to be able to be from that period of time. He said if that's the case, then it will feel very false and unnatural. He wanted the entire set, the way the actors acted, their demeanor, the look of the actors, the style, everything to portray the 70s. And really feel like when they entered it, they
I
would
felt they nailed
get
it,
into
yeah.
that world.
I
Yeah.
tell you, man, but the very first thing I wrote down, notes, was the visuals. They absolutely loved the visuals. He's really captured the period. Just incredible. The actual costume design, the feel of the movie. It felt like I was getting whisked back to that period. So I think he done an incredible job. And the visuals, obviously the cinematographer as well. He's the guy that's actually in charge of that. We'll get into that in the actual technical stuff though. But visually, this movie was a masterpiece. The way they captured the action and stuff like that, absolutely superb. Look, I've got two more standout moments. I don't know if you have got anything else to say, but just the sequence. There's a sped up sequence when he goes off the rails.
Yeah, I really the only, I would say the only gripe I had was that the fight he had with Vembuli earlier, the one that was interrupted, had more of a impact than the final fight.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So if only the final fight had at least that much of impact, I think it would have been a phenomenal. But I don't know why he went with that direction, in the sense that it seemed like this just that ending bit, it lackluster a little bit when he like knocked him out. It would have been better if it was a bit more. I mean, it's a movie after all, so I would have wanted a little bit more dramatic,
I think if they did that,
kind of
I think if they did that first fight,
last.
but the hero's beaten in the first, like Cabelin's beaten in the first
And then he
bout,
gets split up. And then he
a
comes
bit like
back.
Rocky 3 when Rocky's fighting Clubber Lang, where he's lost that sort of edge, and he's lost that belief in himself. I think that might have worked a bit better for the more climatic ending. I think that would have worked a bit better, but I don't know if this is based on true events or not, Ruth, so maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, it might have been. I'm not really sure. He may have gotten the idea from, studying the fighters at that point of time. So maybe, there's something that even I am not aware of, but from just visually watching it, I felt that if only the last fight had kind of that ending, like I felt like, oh, did I miss the knockout punch at the end, or so it lackluster a little bit on that part. And I also enjoyed the fight he had with the dancing rose with Shabir Karakat. That guy,
he says he was going to knock him out in under 2
actor
rounds.
did such a fantastic job. He really looked. I actually, after watching the film, and I went and saw this kind of like collection video of like on YouTube of Prince Naseem Hamed, and he did move. He really captured the
I
movement.
said, man, I grew up
that
with that
kind of
guy, and
shift
I remember
and
it vividly
really
in the
well.
90s, watching his fights, man.
The showmanship and
Unbelievable.
everything,
He was
was
Conor McGregor
exactly
before
spot
Conor
on.
McGregor was Conor McGregor. This guy was the very first, for me anyway, boxer that had that sort of showmanship.
Yeah.
He was dancing into the ring. He'd make his,
And
make
towards
his
the end, I
fighters wait an hour.
really liked, I really liked his character a lot towards the end, especially when you saw the kind of level of sportsmanship he had, where he was like, he chastised Wembley for, like, what are you doing, it's like it's a disgrace to the sportsmanship for you to have, succumbed to that man's design. And I like the way when the guy comes back again later part to try to get him, and then he chases him off, you know, and then at the end when Wembley loses, and the way he says to him, it's like, no, this is what it should be, you fought a good fight, and son, and I'm proud of you that you stayed true to being a sportsman. It was an honest loss, the kind of like a good fight, and then you lost. In that sense, you won as a sportsman.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And that's the key to boxing. There's a sort of dignity.
Yep.
And there's this code, the warrior code, as Chris Eubank likes to call it. A warrior code. I can't do his accent. He's very prim and proper. But there's a code, and even the coach Rangyan says that to him. At the moment you picked up a weapon, you were done as a boxer in my eyes. And that's absolutely true. But I love the fact that the dancer knows actually says to Van Bully at one moment, he's getting in his head and he's building up to the first fight. He says, look, this guy's dangerous. I want to be there when you actually do him, but watch. And I think that gets in actually when Belly said.
Yeah,
and he's done at that point. He's beat before he even gets in. The actual final fight, I quite liked the final fight. I have that issue that you share though, Ruth, with the ending. It was a little lacklustre. Even the crowd didn't quite explode the way I'd expect him to explode in that moment. This guy goes from being overweight, over the hill, an alcoholic, he's losing touch with everything, to getting back into shape and beating this guy who's always been in shape and always fighting and beating people consistently. It should have been a more sort of celebratory, joyous moment, but it wasn't for me. It kind of lacked something in the actual final moments of the fight. But the fight itself, I liked the fight. I says in my notes,
the fight itself was really good.
It was like Rocky on steroids to me. The whole concept of the coach staying away, then he comes in when he gets knocked down.
But I think that was the whole package was there by the end of the movie. His relationship with Rangan at the very end. Rangan admitting he did make a mistake. He didn't believe he could. He could win the bout. His relationship with his mother had mended. His relationship with his wife was on a better path as well. I think it was just another part of his life experience. This boxing match, this final one was. Now you've done that, it's just like ticking the boxes and giving him that happy ending. And
I love the fact his mother, that speech his mother gives is brilliant. Boxing took you to this stage. It nearly wrecked you, but boxing's the only thing that's going to save you.
Good line,
paraphrasing heavily, but it's the only thing that will save you. So get back in boxing. And just that was brilliant. I liked the back and forth. It was like Rocky. He's taking shots, he's giving out shots, he's knocked down, and then he sparks obviously Van Bully at the end, and that's it. A little bit lacklustre, just the final moment. But look, oh no, man, I thought it was and the shot of him up in the actual corner celebrating, just a unit again, absolutely incredible. Somebody that does weight training, I keep saying I look nothing like this guy, but this guy, that's the inspiration I have. Seeing people with physiques like that, I'm like, that's what I want to look like. Unbelievable. I don't know what the hell he's eating. I want to get his diet, because that guy is shredded, man. But look, just so impressive, man, the way they captured the fighting. And we'll get into that just now, the technical aspects of this movie. I thought visually it was incredibly shot, the way they captured the period, as you did say, Ruth. I think it was set in the 70s, the fashion, just the vibe, it felt like that period. And just little simple shots of him riding in his bike and stuff like that, and the people sitting at the back of the bike. There's little simple moments that are perfectly captured with the cinematography. And then the fighting, it was just slick as hell, man. There was close-ups, there was slow-mo shots. Just really well shot movie. Fantastic. I'm actually going to look at the cinematographer just now, because I'm not actually sure who it is, and try and find out who he is and give him his due. Not that he's going to watch this, because he ain't. He's too big for this. It's Santosh Narayanan. I think I'm saying that
he's
right.
The composer.
He was involved. Oh, he was the composer. Sorry,
yeah.
He's involved in master.
Mr. Cinema is Morley, is it?
Cinematography is G. Murali Vardan.
Vardan.
He's involved in Madras. I need to watch this Madras movie, man.
Yeah. So he's a composer. He's
the veterinary actors in that as well. Yeah, Kalaya Rasan. I think it is Kalaya Rasan is in that movie as well. Kafi's in it. I'm going to watch that Madras movie. I think that looks incredible. But the cinematographer was brilliant. The way it was shot was incredible. I just thought the editing, the technical stuff of this movie was really impressive. We spoke about it before, 2 hours 53 minutes. I wouldn't have cut anything out of this movie. I thought it was slightly edited, and for a nigh on 3 hour movie, it was really quick. It went by really quickly, so that's always a sign of good editing. The visuals were brilliant, and I really enjoyed the score and the musical elements, even the sound design, the punching. You could feel the punching through the sound design. I had these headphones on, so that helps. So the sound design was brilliant. Everything technically, the aspects of this movie were really, really impressive. So I enjoyed it. What was your thoughts, though? You can take a turn. I don't know which one.
Well, the composer for me, John, Santosh Narayan. Did you say? Yeah, I can't remember. I try to remember the name. That was like 5 minutes ago. You said that. I thought the score was. It was almost Bill Conti-esque, in terms of that sort of rocky inspirational music, and I felt there was just those little moments throughout. I don't know how many bouts there was in this film. There must have been about 5.
There was 3 official bouts, but you had 2 sparring. You had Rahman twice.
Yeah. So you're talking 4 or 5 bouts, and just the score and amongst the fighting scenes, I felt was really. It just added that atmosphere to the matches, I felt, and I did enjoy that. I felt it just added that sort of next level element to those fights, because anytime you watch a boxing match on in a film, it always has musical elements to it, and I wouldn't like to see a film that didn't have it. I think it would be a bit flat, where you're only listening to the crowd. In those sort of films, you do get the sort of boxing commentators if it's presented in that way.
Little commentator was hilarious.
Yeah,
he never shut up.
He was good.
Man, he just kept ba 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 ba.
He was
brilliant.
He was very literal as well.
Yeah.
But I felt the composer for me, and I've seen his other work. He worked on Master, Madras, as you said, Jagam Thandaram as well.
That was good music in that movie.
Yeah, I mean he's obviously he's a good pedigree as a composer. But the other technical elements for me as well. I felt you mentioned that you didn't feel there was anything that should have been cut out of this, John. I totally agree with that, because I was actually arguing earlier on. I wanted more. I would have happily have sat through watching more of this. But that's just me. I'm greedy.
I tell you what, man, I've changed my rating. My ratings went up a teeny wee bit. I've changed it. Just speaking about it again, man. You speak about movies, it actually changes the way you think about a movie. You see things from different perspectives. And
It's
slightly
true,
changes. It is going up a teeny bit. I really enjoyed this movie. I really did. Getting into performances, man. Oh no, sorry, Ruth. You technical stuff. You've not actually spoke about technical. What's your thoughts on cinematography, score, and
I really enjoyed the cinematography. It's really well shot. I loved the entire look of the set. Everything was, it's so realistically portrayed, down to the hairstyles and the clothes and everything. And everyone seemed very comfortable in the era, I think, and that the credit went to the director in trying to give them a clear vision of what the scene was set in, like which era they were acting in and all that kind of stuff. So I thought that was really well done, and I love the music as well. Santosh is, like, I think very talented, in the sense that he's consistently, in whichever movie I've seen, it's like consistently been giving good music and everything. So all that was fantastic. But what I was also impressed with was even the fights that were outside of the ring was really, they're very well choreographed fights. Those fights were so well done. It's like short, quick, and very, you really feel like any moment, and there's like each had the kind of impact and power of the same intensity as you would have seen in the ring, but even outside it had that kind of and very quickly shot, so it felt a lot like a real, like if people are coming in and you don't know who's going to stab you. For a moment there, I'm holding my breath each time I see the fights going. It's like, please don't kill anybody. It's
the fight in the actual the actual restaurant sort of cafe thing, that was brilliant. That was rapid. The way he takes control of it and takes the machete and just chops him, I'm like, yes, man.
Yeah, that's
and then Vetri actually
well.
taking the knife and saying, "No, hurry up, get to the fight." And he's actually stabbing hell out of people. I'm like, fucking get in there, well done. Brilliant. Couldn't that little bitch of an uncle sort of figure I don't know what his name is.
Yeah.
I can't find his name. It's a real shame because it was a great performance and he deserves his due.
Yeah.
He's just deserves, if you'd like. But I cannot find the guy for love nor money in the actual IMDb cast listing. That's a shame.
And I really like the sound editing a lot, because sometimes when you do fights, the punches, sometimes the sounds are just a little bit, artificial.
Sometimes it sounds like a whip.
Yeah.
It sounds like a whip
exactly.
at times. You're like, that's not a punching
And
sound.
you've no idea, man,
That's not a
what
punch
goes into
sound.
sound.
Yeah, exactly. I thought it was a lot more better. I mean, obviously you want to play up the sound in a boxing movie, because that's the whole point. You want to be able to, have the sound that impacts with the fight. But I thought it was a little bit more realistically handled. That it was just a bit more palatable for my taste. In the sense of it being a little bit more real in the sound as well.
And you've got to think about what people are doing behind the scenes. I've watched videos of actual sound editors, designers. They're punching like bags of sand and stuff like that to create sounds. I'm doing little things in these studios. It's unbelievable how they add to the actual soundscape in movies. It's an absolute art, and they deserve more credit than they get.
I really like the eye of this director. His vision is. I like the way he does things. I've watched a few of his other movies as well. There's something a bit
Have you seen
different about
Madras,
the way
Ruth? Because if you have and you recommend it, I'm going to watch it, man. That's one I was really
I haven't
catching my-
watched that one yet.
I need to
but
watch
I've
that.
heard a lot of good things about it. Yeah.
Yeah, I need to watch that. It looks, even
might
the
be
actual
watching.
logo, it's like communism. It's like a communist logo, Stephen. Look at that. Look at that logo.
That's excellent. That looks
It's
like
like-
a.
it's
that
like
looks like
Stalinist.
yeah. Like
So it's right up
period
my street
movie, yeah.
already. I'm a bit of a communist, so come at me, bitches. Use capitalist bitches. Come at me, man. And I'll debate you any day about the virtues of communism versus capitalism. But hey, that's for another day. That's for another day. I do like to look at that movie. I do like to look at the director. I think you've done a great job in this movie. And it's just the little details you've actually introduced to the review, Ruth, the concept of him giving the information to the actors and how that's filled out the performances and how that's ultimately made this movie the watch it is. Because if you didn't get the performances from the actors, the movie's going to flop. So it ultimately comes down to the director and how he interacts on the actual set and gets performances. And that's what makes this movie the watch it is. It's the actual performances from the likes of Aya, Pasha Pafi as well. Not even spoke about him. The actual coach, I thought he was brought. We'll get into it though.
Yeah.
We'll get into it just now. The actual standout performance. I'm going to say it right now. I thought Aya was brilliant. He was. But for me, and this is going to be a shock, I would have thought, I actually think Pasha Pafi is the standout performer in this movie.
Yep.
The coach, Rangan.
I was going to say the same.
He's such a momentous sort of. How would you call it? Oh, a mentor figure to Arya's character, Cabalan, in this movie. He's the glue that's holding the whole clan together.
Yep.
He's the Vetri's trying to get his appeasement, to get his respect, and he just doesn't give him it. He says, look, you're not good enough.
He's also the connection to the past as
He's
well.
the connection to the past, to his father. I just thought his performance, there's little moments he doesn't even open his mouth up.
Yeah.
When Raman's fighting with another coach and he's doing sparring, he just stands with his hands behind his back watching it. And it's like a wide shot of him just standing in the middle. And I thought, that's incredible.
Yeah.
This guy's, he's got a presence. He was a great boxer of the past. He's this mentor figure. Everybody respects him. He's really the guy that kickstarts the whole movie. Cabalan respects him so much. I think he says to him at one point on the bicycle, Frederick Mercury, I can't even speak, the beer's taking hold. He sits in the bike with him and he says, look, I've watched every one of your fights. I genuinely think you were better than Muhammad Ali. I'll do anything for you. It's that respect that thrusts the Cabalan character in to take on Vimbuli. It's that respect that kicks everything off. So for me, Pasha Pafi, man, absolutely outstanding performance. He's not got the bulk of screen time, but when he's on the screen you're drawn to him, and it's just a really brilliant performance. Aya was excellent as well though. John Corkin, there's some unbelievable performances all around. Karaya Rasan, the actual wife figure, I think it's Tushara I can't even say her name, Vijayan.
Yeah, she's the wife.
The mother figure, Unapama Kumar.
Yeah.
And look, someone we've not even spoke about, John Vijay, Daddy, the daddy character, colourful character that flits in and out. There's some great performances, and I keep speaking about it, man. I spoke about it with Sarkar. You need a good ensemble cast to elevate the main man's performance, and Arya has that cast. Actually, the side characters are sometimes more compelling than him, and that's what makes the movie so watchable for me. Unbelievable amount of good performances in there. But look, man, what is your standout performer? I'll go to you, Ruth, first. Have you got a standout performance, or is there just A group of performances in
Yeah,
this.
again, it was very difficult to pick because they all did such a great job. Everyone, there wasn't. I think everyone brought their A game for this movie, and I really liked all. I really, really fell in love with all the characters because, like you guys are saying that I wish sometimes I wish that there was more time given to I wouldn't have complained if
You could
they
do a
gave
prequel
it.
story with the actual Rangan character
Exactly.
and his father.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
You could do a
they
prequel
could.
story and it'd be brilliant.
Exactly. Yeah. I was very impressed by Arya because, like I told you before, his acting has always been a bit of a mixed bag. But the one thing I've noticed about Arya is that his acting really depends a lot on who he gets as a director. I think that's what affects because he's a very he's got a lot of talent and a lot of depth. But I think
Still
he
young
needs
as
a
well.
director that brings it out in him because usually he's, the best performances have always been where the director has been a really good, hands-on kind of director, and they kind of, I think he needs that push. And once he gets that direction and that push right, then I think he really does exceptionally well. He keeps impressing me, that each time I watch him now, I have to change my initial reaction to the kind of actor he is, and I'm very, very impressed with Arya's acting in this, especially watching his journey. If you had watched his journey the way I have, you would realize how much of a shift he has made, in terms of contending to be one of those, actors that you really want to be able to watch what he does next. I'm quite excited for that as well.
But
And
he's only 40 as well. He's got years left. I mean, Mahershala Ali came in really late into his career. I think he started like early 40s. He's now a double Oscar winner. So he's got years of acting left, years of development.
Morgan
He's still a
Freeman
young
as well,
guy,
yeah.
man. He's got
Yeah.
a long, long time
exactly.
left to really develop into
And I
something special.
also, yeah, and I also really liked Pasupati's acting as the coach. He gave such a different, measured performance. Very different from usual, boxing. He didn't try to emulate any other type of boxing coach
No.
from
Yeah.
any other the film or whatever. It was always, because usually with boxing coaches, you always get that same type of, they're usually cut from the same cloth. They're but his role was very, very different. He was almost like a proper mentor or father figure, and I loved the relationship between him. It was like a love story in itself.
Yeah.
The relationship that he had with him is like
He was closer to him
he
than his
was his
wife.
hero. Exactly,
He actually
he looked
respected
up
him
to
more
him
than his
his
wife.
entire life.
did,
Exactly,
yeah.
it's like, yeah, he looked for his approval, like how a son would look for his
Did he-
father's approval,
Did
that
they
kind
not
of
get him
thing,
to
so
preside over his wedding as well? I think he actually gets him to preside over his wedding to also his wife.
exactly.
He spends more
Yeah,
time with
exactly.
his coach in this movie, even though he has like multi-year stretch in jail, than he does with his wife. And
Yeah.
Steve, what's your standout, man? Have you
And-
got a standout performer?
Yeah, it's Pasupati for me as well.
Pasupati,
And for the reasons he's both, you just said, I think you need that kind of figure in this type of movie to carry the story and to make it as genuine as possible, especially when you're dealing with the legacy of clans. You need that connection to the past so the audience can relate to that. His little stories he was telling Kabilan about his father made it all interconnected for me. You're right, John, that'd be a good shout as a prequel film. I would love to see that, especially with that little bitch of a uncle as well. Bring him in, a younger version of him, acting the same, and he can get under our skin once
Steve,
more.
he's not that old, man.
No, he's
born in 69.
he's
I mean,
not. He's John. He's only
51,
about
52.
7 or 8 years older than me, and
Could do
he's one of those actors. I've only seen him in 2 movies, but you remember him, and that's how I remember. I went. He was in, and just that presence he's got for such a. I don't think he had a massive part in that film, but it just a memorable performance and has that presence, as you said. In this one, as Rangan, I felt Ruth is right. He was nothing like the Burgess Meredith Mickey character from Rocky, the shouting ex-boxer type thing,
More reserved,
he was more reserved, and there was times in the film where Passaparty didn't have to say anything. He just stood there with his arms folded and giving a look here, giving a look there, and everybody feared him, and they all listened to him when he spoke as well. And I just felt his relationship, very much like you said, Ruth, with Cabalan, was almost like a father-son relationship. It was like the father that he missed out on, which I felt was very emotional in parts as well. And Cabalan's trying to get his acceptance for the best part of the first 40 minutes of the movie as well. And Rangan, I think with the tragedy of his father, didn't want to repeat history, very much like his mother. I think they had that understanding between both of them. I think the mother respected Rangan, but obviously to a point.
He respected that because he didn't train him.
Yeah, Arya for me he was fantastic. He was fantastic. He was the one who I was following through the film, and I wanted to see more of, just because Arya's performance. But I just felt that Passaparty for me just edged it, just because of it was when he wasn't doing things that I noticed him as well. When he wasn't speaking, it was all his little actions, his little movements, his looks, all that kind of thing. That's what makes a great actor for me.
And even when he's off screen,
he's
got this presence.
Yeah, you miss him.
Yeah.
You miss him when he's
exactly.
When he comes out of the prison, one of the best moments in the whole movie for me, when he comes out of the prison and his son tries to put this sort of flowery sort of thing over his head. He's like, "What are you doing?" No, doesn't he have to open his mouth? He's like, "No, bitch, shit ain't getting over me." Someone else puts it over, he takes it off. He's like, "Do it at my funeral." I think they're playing music, do it at my funeral. Just a great performance from him. I thought it was absolutely brilliant. Overall thoughts on this movie though. Have you got anything else to say, Ruth? On you go, if you have.
Yeah, I thought we should also mention the actress that played the wife. I mean, both the wives, both Kabilan's wife as well as even Vetri Selvan's wife,
she was great.
the Kocha-san's, they did a very good job, and I think the girl that acted as Kabilan's wife, she was her first movie.
Oh, was it?
Wow.
Was it her first movie?
I thought this was
really
her first
good.
movie.
Yeah, she was involved in that great dancing moment.
At least, I think, So I thought for her first film, she was so natural, and she did such a good role as well. And I also liked the villain, Vete Muthukurama. He was like really good. Like when you absolutely hate a villain, like you physically want to strangle him, they are doing a fantastic job. It's like if they can get you to have that much violence.
So that's his name then. That's his name then, Vetu Muthukumar.
I think it's Vete Muthukumar.
Do you know who you put me in mind of? See the little bitch with the sort of goose arm in Bahubali, the sort of father figure of Balala Deva in Bahubali. He was pulling the strings. He was involved in everything, but he didn't actually want to get involved. Also, he gets involved in the restaurant and he takes a slash to the face. But he was that sort of little moving around the shadows, trying to pull strings. He was a little bitch. I hated him, but he was great. It was a great performance. Just because I didn't have access to his name, that's why I didn't really speak about him. But that was a great villainous performance, and there was levels to the villains. We had sort of Rahman playing a borderline villain at one point, trying to crush Cabalan. But to be fair, he was just trying to get his own back. He took his chance to fight for the clan off him. And then also when he loses, he spars with him, beats him to a pulp because he's fat and overweight. But he was good, man. Even to be fair to him, he gets into the ring and says it was a well-deserved victory at the end. So he's not an out-and-out villain. There was levels. There was stuff going on in this movie that I really enjoyed.
Yeah, exactly. I think they all did very well. Shabir as the Dancing Rose and John Cocken as Vimboli. It's like everyone.
Speak about Vimboli, really Jesus Christ, John Cocken was brilliant. I really enjoyed him. What a presence.
Yeah.
Just his handlebar moustache alone deserves mention. Unbelievable moustache game. Unbelievable. He was great. He was really, 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 really good. And as I think we were speaking, Ruth, before we came on, and you actually mentioned that, was it during the review you says it? I think it was before we came on. This is actually the first time, or one of the first times he's acted in a Tamil movie. And now he actually views himself
I think
as
he may have, because he's, I don't think he's been given like I'm not sure whether it's the only Tamil movie he's acted, but I do know that in this one, I think he got like a role that was, like where he actually spoke a lot more, and it was like a proper role, like a full-on
what is KGF?
important character.
Is KGF Telugu?
Telugu.
Yeah, because it's Yash, isn't it? He was in that also. That's a completely bum note Telugu movie. Looking forward to KGF 2, incidentally. Can't wait to see that one.
Yeah.
See this guy as the main man in charge of everything. Cannot wait to see what he does. Obviously he's lighting cigarettes on guns and stuff like that, but cannot wait for it, man. I really enjoyed KGF. That was our first ever Indian movie
was,
we
yeah.
actually watched and
Yeah.
reviewed. And absolutely brilliant. Really
Yeah,
enjoyed
that was
it.
a fan. Yeah, it's a
Balls to the
fantastic
wall
movie.
crazy action movie. But we're off in tangents, man. Doesn't matter. Tangents are happy. Happy little tangent, as Bob Ross would have says if he was alive. Yes, he's dead, isn't he? Bob Ross. Terrible.
Yeah.
Overall thoughts
A
on
few
this
years now.
movie, man, before we round this up and give it a rating. I'll go first, because I like to put myself forward, because that's the kind of guy I am. I really enjoyed this movie, man. I was looking forward to it anyway. I enjoyed the vibe of the trailers, the build up to it, the sort of performances the director was getting out, the actors behind the scenes in that trailer we watched. People obviously watched it and they were recommending it, saying it was a great movie. And whilst I do listen to that at times, I take my own opinion more serious when I watch movies. And I have to say, I really did enjoy it. I thought it was a really good performance across the board. Arya was brilliant as the main man. Pashupathi I've gave the standout performance to. Great ensemble performance, really brilliant visuals, really taut experience. I thought it was perfectly edited. And just the fact it balanced this sort of sport and boxing stuff with more drama-driven human condition story of this Cabalan character going off the rails, almost being like his father. It was like fucking Shining in parts, where Jack Nicholson's an alcoholic, Dr. Sleep. Also the great Hugh McGregor plays Danny Torrance. He nearly falls in the footsteps of his father, but he pulls back just a bit. It elements of that going on, and I really enjoy that in movies when you've got the sort of echoed the ghostly footsteps of the father, and you're nearly following him down that path to ruin, if you'd like. I enjoyed it a lot, man. I thought it was really good. I liked it. But look, who wants to go next in their thoughts before we get to the rating? I'll not rate first. Do you want to go first, Ruth? Do you want to give your overall thoughts on this movie, man, before we rate it?
Okay. For me, like I told you, I mean, boxing as a sport, it's not really, I don't really follow it as much and that kind
Stephen
of
doesn't
thing.
either,
And
man. That's
for me, I really didn't. I don't think I would have watched it, if it wasn't for the fact that this was meant to be reviewed.
Yeah.
But really, I would have really lost out, because this movie, from 5 minutes in, it just turned me around so much so that I was rooting for the movie, for all the characters, everything. I was so involved and engrossed in it. It was really impressed me completely, and it is now become, before it used to be like I told you before, with boxing movies, for me, Raging Bull, Cinderella Man, $1 Million Baby, Rocky, these were my standout movies.
Southpaw.
Now
Good
I
one
can
as well.
add this to that lot of movies. As far as I'm concerned, I could add this to those lot of movies, as one of the movies I would say I would recommend as a really good boxing film to watch.
Have you seen
You
The
know,
Fighter,
it was
Ruth?
it really impressed me.
As a little aside, have
Sorry?
you ever watched The Fighter with Christian Bale? You need to watch that if
No,
you've
I
not
haven't
seen that.
watched it yet.
It's
I know.
good.
Yeah, I should watch it. Okay, yeah. I haven't
He won
seen
an
that,
Oscar
yeah.
for supporting actor. Unbelievable. I think he shaved his head in. Shaved a bald patch in his head, and he was playing like a heroine. Had unbelievable movie. You need to watch that. Stephen, overall thoughts?
Thoroughly enjoyable movie. A boxing movie. You said it yourself, John. I'm not a big fan of boxing, real life boxing. It is, but there's something something about boxing films that really intrigue me if they're done correctly. This one, its authenticity won it for me. And like Ruth said, it's up there with the best boxing films for its authenticity, its detail, its handling of characters that you're rooting for, ones that you get right under your skin as well. And it just had all those elements that really pulled you in, and that's the reason I watched this film from start to finish with no breaks. I wanted more because I was invested in the story. I was invested in the characters as well. As I said earlier, I did have a little slight nitpicks that could have went either way. I think it worked well for a 3-hour movie. I don't think they could have done any more to it. I would have liked to have seen these characters, so-called side characters, explored a little bit more in their own movies. That's how good they were.
Steve, I would build on that final thing I'm going to say. I was just thinking about it there. The actual villain, the sort of Raman father figure. You mentioned his name, Ruth. there was even reasons behind behind why he was the way he was. I think he lost his brother. His brother died, and there was connections to Cagalan. Is it? I always keep forgetting this guy's name. I don't know why. I'm having a bear. His father. There was connections between them all. He lost his brother, and he thought, look, you didn't save him. And then I think the Ranjan actually avenged the death after his death. So there was elements going on. There was levels, as I says, to relationships, and it's just really well crafted movie. And just the way it explored the sort of clan stuff.
Because like you say, it's meant to be a traditional. It's like traditions of each clan. You know, they carry forward through and the son. So there's a lot of backstory, I think, understood in terms of what their motivations are. That the clan should win at all costs, but at the same time, it wasn't just the clan. He individually wanted to shine. He wanted his own, family. So I think that's the split that happened. It should have been all about the clan and them working together. But whereas he wanted self-glory, because of the fact that he felt his, in his ancestry, the brother didn't get it, and and it's like, so he wanted it to, like, them to be the ones leading the clan rather than Rangan to be leading the clan. I think that was the main contention.
And he even explored it as well. There was a little throwaway comment about the clans and how it split families. In some cases, some family members went to the other clan. Some remained in Sarpatta. So it was actually splitting families as well. They had loyalties to different clans for different reasons. So I just thought it explored that concept really well. This sort of borderline gang warfare element really well in this movie. That was a nice little additional thing on top of the whole.
And they also added in the political climate at that time, because it's like each clan also supporting different political leaders at that point of time, which is why Rangan was arrested because he was, he was a supporter of the opposition party, at that time and all that kind of thing. So it was how politics was also woven into the identity of the different clans as well. Which political leader each one was supporting and stuff. And
again, as somebody that's not aware of a lot of cultural stuff going on in India, and I've seen it explored in Tarapathi movies, just again nice to see what was going on back in those days and stuff like that, and the clans, the way that was interwoven with politics, the way it was interwoven with a way of life and stuff like that. Just really interesting look into the culture in India. And as I keep saying, as somebody has a 2% South Indian link, I've got a great grandmother from potentially Tamil or Sri Lanka, definitely in that region anyway. I just like looking back stuff. Actually, I may have living family members in the south of India just now, and I just love, I'm a sponge for information. I love looking into it and stuff like that. So I really enjoyed the movie. I'm going to get right to the rate, and I'm giving this movie a B+, man. I'm giving it a B+. I was going to give it a B initially, but as you speak about movies, you start changing your opinion, and just the little elements, it's bumped up to a B+. I think this is one of the best boxing movies I've seen, and I rank the likes of Rocky. I'd probably give Rocky an A. There you go. I actually think that was a perfect boxing movie, and I don't rate this one much lower than Rocky. For me, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a really good boxing movie with other elements going on. What is your rating though, Ruth? Stephen's, he's giving it to you. He's going to go last.
Okay, me too. I mean, initially I was thinking more along the lines of a B, but like when you're speaking, I'm thinking it's almost reaching a B+ range for me, because as I'm recalling everything that I'm watching, I
just thought it was a really well crafted movie, man. It was intelligent, and there's just the fact the director had that
because
level
it gave
of detail.
him more than just boxing.
Steve, what are you going for?
I'm going for a B.
I think that's very fair as well. I was about to give it a B. I just changed my mind. I do it all the time. I just can't fix on one rating. I've got an illness. I think that's a very fair. I think that's a very, very, very fair rating across the board there, man, for this movie. I thought it was a really, really solid movie. I'd rate it excellent for it, and I was surprised with it. Obviously, it being an Amazon Prime movie over here, I don't know what the setup was in India, if it actually released in theatres, how they're doing with the COVID pandemic and stuff like that. But for it to be a streaming movie and to be that good, I was really, really surprised by it, and enjoyed it a lot. But look, unless anyone else has got anything to say, I'm going to cut to myself and be a little attention whore for a couple of minutes before I round the show up. What's your thoughts on the movie Sarpatta Parambarai? what you make about Arya, the other names that we mentioned in this movie, the story, the concept, where it resided. If you've got anything to say about this movie at all, you can comment down below in the comment section. You can also like the video if you've enjoyed it. Speak about our review as well. If you like the video, you can enjoy it. If you subscribe to the channel, you'll get more content like this on YouTube. Hit the follow button over on Twitch if you're watching over there, and you'll get it there as well. But look, until then, me, Stephen, and Ruth are done. Bye bye. I have to go to myself, guys, because I've not put the end screen graphic animation on that scene, and I will right that wrong for the next time. But look, I'm done. Bye.
Oh, you guys really cracked me up. Mm.